So let's talk about carbon markets. They're one of our biggest tools for funding climate action, designed to funnel billions of dollars into projects that slash emissions. But the entire system, all of that incredible potential, it all hinges on one super fragile idea: trust. Seriously, without it, the whole thing just falls apart. So how in the world do you verify something so fundamental?
I mean, think about it. That's really what a carbon credit is, right? It's a promise. A promise that 1 ton of CO2 has been taken out of the atmosphere or stopped from going up there in the first place. But when that promise is made in some remote forest or a far-off power plant, how do we actually know it's for real?
Okay, so take a project just like this one. The promise here is that these trees are being protected, they're growing, and they're soaking up carbon. And that real-world climate action gets turned into a certificate you can actually trade, a carbon credit, that someone else can buy to offset their own emissions.
And this is the whole ball game right here. It only works if we can trust the numbers. The market is constantly fighting off things like greenwashing, where credits don't actually represent real emission cuts, or double selling, where the exact same credit gets sold to 2 different buyers. If you can't trust the numbers, that promise is, well, it's pretty much worthless.
And look, this isn't some small side issue. This is the central challenge. The entire multi-billion-dollar carbon market is basically one giant exercise in building, maintaining, and scaling trust. Take that away, and the system just collapses.
And you don't have to take my word for it. The experts are super clear on this. Trust isn't just some nice-to-have feature. It is the absolute foundation. If there's no trust, there's no credible market. And if there's no market, that climate finance just dries up.
Okay, so if trust is the problem, how do you actually build it? Well, for decades, the industry's answer has been this really rigorous process, designed to prove that climate action is really, truly happening. And it's a system known by just 3 letters: MRV.
MRV stands for monitoring, reporting, and verification. The easiest way to think about it, it's like the accounting and auditing department for the planet. It's the whole set of rules and procedures that turns a claim about some project into a verified, tradable carbon credit.
So let's walk through it. It's actually pretty logical. First up, you monitor. You're out there collecting the raw data, whether that's measuring how fast trees are growing or tracking fuel usage. Next, you report. You compile all that data into a formal document using a very specific methodology. And then, and this is the really crucial part, verification. An independent auditor comes in, checks your math, and confirms that your claims are accurate.
All right, so this old-school, boots-on-the-ground way of doing things, it has its good points, for sure. It's established, regulators get it, but man, the downsides are huge. It's crazy expensive, the verification can take years, literally years, and it's always open to human error. It gave us the foundation, but it's just too slow and too costly for the scale of climate action we need right now.
And that bottleneck? That's exactly where technology comes in and just completely changes the game. We are now in the era of digital MRV, or dMRV, which is basically a massive upgrade to that old manual system.
And the tech we're talking about for dMRV, it's seriously cool. Instead of just people on the ground, we now have satellites that can monitor entire forests from space. We've got IoT sensors tracking soil carbon in real time. We're using AI to crunch massive data sets and spot problems a human might totally miss. It's a full-on technological revolution for climate accountability.
So, what does all this fancy tech actually do? Well, it leads to numbers like this one, a potential 40% cost saving on verification for projects that switch from manual methods to satellite monitoring. That's a massive deal.
And look, this isn't just about saving money. It's about speed. It's about scale. A verification that used to take years can now get done in months, sometimes even weeks. And that increased speed and lower cost is what allows climate action to really scale up.
Okay, so dMRV is awesome. It helps us trust what's happening in a single project. But that's only half the battle, right? What about the global system? How do you make sure that credits from different projects in different countries, all using different rules, can all be understood and trusted together? Well, you need a common language.
And that brings us to the Climate Action Data Trust, or CAD Trust for short. It's an initiative founded by the World Bank, Singapore, and the International Emissions Trading Association. Their mission sounds simple, but it is absolutely massive. Create a single, common language for all of the world's carbon credit data.
See, the problem that CAD Trust is tackling is that all this data is fragmented. You have dozens of different registries, from the big names like Vera and Gold Standard to national government systems, all kind of operating in their own little bubbles, on their own data islands. This makes it incredibly hard to get a clear global picture and stop risks like double counting.
And the impact of connecting everything, it's been absolutely staggering. We're talking about roughly 90%. That's the share of all carbon credits ever issued in the world whose data is now connected and harmonized on the CAD Trust platform.
A great way to think about it is like a universal translator or maybe a Rosetta Stone for the planet's climate promises. By linking these systems that were once totally separate, it gives everyone, from investors to governments, a single unified view. And that makes it possible to track credits across the globe and finally prevent that double counting we talked about.
And the cool thing is, this isn't some top-down organization forcing everyone to do this. It's a collaborative network. You have governments, major registries, and technical experts all rowing in the same direction. They're all coming together to build that single source of truth.
So when you put these two huge revolutions together, the revolution in how we get data from projects and the revolution in how we connect that data globally, you start to get a really clear picture of a much more trustworthy future for carbon markets.
It really boils down to a pretty simple formula. This is the main takeaway. You take the better, faster data from digital MRV, you combine it with the common universal language from CAD Trust, and you get the one thing this market needs more than anything else: real, solid, verifiable trust.
And when you have that trust, the results are, well, they're profound. This new infrastructure helps stamp out double counting, which gives investors the confidence to pour more money into climate solutions. It lets everyone, from governments to companies, make smarter, more informed decisions. And that is what, at the end of the day, drives more meaningful climate action.
So, where does that leave us? It all comes down to this one big question. We now have the technology and the global platforms to build a system that is truly transparent. So with this new foundation of trust, can carbon markets finally live up to their massive potential and deliver on that global promise to the planet?